All right? And then the next one Cecil was talking about was embellishing or lying. If you are perceived as a known liar, no matter how much you attempt to tell the truth or the truth of who God is or the truth about your vision, people won't believe it until they come and see it for themselves. And sometimes people won't come and see it for themselves because they haven't seen the effect of the vision on you. All right? Next one is dogmatism. Does anybody know what being dogmatic is? Or dogmatism really is? Or dogma? No. Andre, you've been around church your whole life. You know what dogma is? No. Pastor? Overseer? Many times dogma has been identified as man-made doctrine versus the legitimacy and truth of the word of God, or in this instance, as he was talking, the truth of a situation. So it more or less deals with things that that fit a certain church versus fitting the body of Christ, where you're set in that one mindset. So if you can't communicate to somebody, say one of your dogmas is, I don't know, that everybody needs, hypothetically, everybody should wear long sleeve instead of short sleeve. You won't be able to effectively communicate to somebody that's wearing short sleeve because they've offended you and what they have on because you haven't respected the differences that you guys have. All right? And then the last one was, oh no, that was the last one. Those were the 7 right there. So if we're going to be effective communicators, those are the things that we have to kill in our own life. That was the point of me showing you the video. This young man is a great speaker on communication. I want you guys, is his name up there? Yes. Write his name down. I want you to write his name down, and I want you guys to look at some of these videos as well with him. He has some other great videos. And then there's a video I wanted to show here, but it was 21 minutes. And it deals with your body language. Because sometimes you can convey a great message with the wrong body language. And I want you to watch her. She is a, I can't remember what type of scientist she is, but she studies human behavior as well. And they study it from the approach of people that are successful in the business world. And they show how your body posture affects how everybody receives you. They have you come into a room and they watch how you sit. And based upon how you sit, they can tell if you're confident in your leadership or if you have struggles with your leadership. If you'll be the one that will take initiative or you'll be the one that falls back. I could tell each of y'all right now which one of you guys would take the initiative, which one will fall back based upon the way that each of you are sitting. She talks about how you come in and when you're uncomfortable or you don't feel like you're that dominant voice in the room, you fold your arms. You have your arms like this. Your head is down. You lean forward like this. But when you're confident, you sit up straight, and I think this was the body posture that surprised me because I always sit like this. When you sit like this, it's more like it's not arrogant, but a confident stance that if something pops off, then I know that I have the leadership skills in order to be able to solve the problem or create a solution to help solve the problem. But I want you guys to look at her. Her name is Amy Cuddy. Amy Cuddy. And the video I want you guys to look at is called Your Body Language Shapes Who You Are. Your body language shapes who you are. I want y'all to look at it, and then I'm going to come back next week, and I'm going to ask you, did you look at it? We're going to have a quiz on it, because I know it's the only way we'll look at it. But you need to look at it before you're on your way to church, because you're not going to remember some of the techniques that she gave. You're going to probably want to look at it a couple times this week. Your body language shapes who you are.
Amy what?
Amy Cuddy. Cuddy.
Like Dr. Cuddy off
a house. Mm-hmm. Like Lisa Cuddy, Dr. Lisa Cuddy. But the video will be great. It will change your approach even to help you become more careful of how you sit, how you step in a room sometimes, what people really are perceiving about you when you step in the room. Because a lot of times, if people perceive you as timid, then they already feel as if they can dominate you when you're supposed to be the one that is dominating that specific setting. That goes for preaching, that goes for if you're teaching, that goes for if you're doing a demonstration, anything with your business, even with your interaction with your clients. The posture that you present to your clients will determine how they receive you, whether they will be the dominant role in that relationship or you will be that dominant role in that relationship. It's all in our communication, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. But many times the first level of communication that everybody has with us is nonverbal. From the soul winning standpoint, I always remember when I used to backslide all the time. And I remember the people that used to witness to me. And I remember that some would come and they'd be very confident in their presentation and their life matched up with what they were saying. And then some would come and I knew I could get them. I knew I could get them because I knew they weren't confident in what they were presenting to. So I became the devil's advocate. And by the time we almost finished, I was almost convincing them to backslide with me because they didn't have the posture of confidence in the relationship that they had with God. And the reason why, I guarantee you, it could be traced back to one of those 7 things that gentleman just said up there on that screen.
Can you name them all 7 one more time, please?
Speaking ill, whether you are speaking ill of others or speaking ill of yourself. The greatest problem is that we speak ill of ourselves. And many times, because we speak ill of ourselves, it honestly causes us to speak ill of others. Especially if we see others being successful and we're settling, we will speak ill of those people. You ever seen somebody that always is like, they just think they're all that. They're always trying to do something. They think they're more than what they are. The reality is you can trace back to that person does not believe in who they are. They feel they have very low self-esteem about themselves. So what they're trying to do is deflect on somebody else so that they don't have to deal with the issues that are within themselves. The second one is judging. We talked about we can't win souls if we have a mindset of how the souls that we are attempting to win should be. We can't win them. We'll never be able to win them. If we can't go to the ones that we're uncomfortable with, then we'll never be able to effectively soul win. Being negative all the time, whether talking negative, thinking negative, that will destroy your communication. You will be up here, you will sound like you have so much power and so much authority going to come out. So what happens is, any of y'all ever smoke weed?
Yes.
Okay. When you smoke weed, if you're not careful and you smoke with people you may not know, they can lace that weed with something, right? And even if they lace it with it just a little bit, and the dominant ingredients in there is weed or marijuana or whatever you want to call it, no matter what, you're going to have effects from the weed and whatever it was laced with. That's the same thing with negative thoughts and negative words. No matter how positive the words I'm attempting to speak now, if my positive words are laced with negativity, they're laced with ill will towards man or ill will towards myself, or they're laced with my judgmental mindset, no matter how much I speak, that which is laced with it is also going to have effect on those that are hearing it. So we have to be careful what we're lacing. And we have to be careful who we're allowing to roll up. When I'm talking about roll up, I'm talking about roll up our speech, roll up our thought process, roll those things up. Let's be careful who we're smoking with. I think we'll get it from that perspective. Be careful who we're smoking with. I'm not talking about actually smoking, so you cannot go out here and say, well, Apostle Cliff said, I just got to be careful who I'm smoking with. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying smoking from a presentation. I'm just using it as an analogy. So, Candy, don't go out there and try to say that I said it was okay as long as you smoke with the right people. That's not what I'm saying. The next one is, I think we said negative complaining. We talked about complaining, and nobody wants to hear somebody that always complains. No matter what, God could bless them. They could have one problem, and God give them 10 blessings, and they're going to complain about that one problem that they had, because that one problem to them means more than those 10 blessings. That affects your communication, y'all. Excuses, somebody who always makes excuses for what they did. You did it, take responsibility for it, deal with the consequences from it, move on from it. Do not make excuses for the things that you've done. When I was young, I used to make a lot of excuses. I did. Now, I will take responsibility for my actions. But when I was younger, I'd make excuses. You know, I did this because my dad wasn't here. It was programmed in me because people said it. So when people said it, I said, oh, okay, this is good. Because I was manipulative. I was very manipulative. I was. I don't front about that. I don't lie about that. I was very manipulative. So what I did was, whatever label people put on me, I used as my advantage. Well, my dad wasn't there. Well, see, I keep making these bad decisions because my dad wasn't there. I forgot all about all of those that stepped in that role that set great examples for me because my dad wasn't there. So I used that as an excuse until that got old to me. Not got old to everybody else. It has to get old to you, and you'll stop making excuses and realize you have to mature enough to take responsibility for what you've done. And you can't, even when you've done something, you can't lay in it. You can't lay in what you've done. You can't lay in it. You gotta deal with what you gotta deal with. Be frustrated with yourself, but get yourself up, dust yourself off, and get right back into the battle. And that's not taking light what you did, but it's realizing I can progress past what I said. Anytime, you know, as I said, we lie, it's going to affect our communication. Because remember the story, the little boy that cried wolf? And when that wolf really came, nobody believed him because he had lied so much. We want to make sure that we're not conveying that to other people, that when something serious goes on, nobody believes us. And then we're upset because people don't believe us, but the reality is, whose fault is it? All right? And then we talked about dogma. We did the dogma. We talked about how that's, you know, more or less man-made situations. We used the long sleeve, short sleeve analogy with that. So we're going to move past all of those negative things, and we're going to become effective in our communication. We're going to become effective in our nonverbal and our verbal communication. Because sometimes our nonverbal communication says more than our verbal communication does. It's in our body posture. It's in our facial expression. And sometimes we can misread people's facial expressions, but sometimes y'all know it be on. When we have an attitude, it shows right on our face. When something disturbs us and bothers us, it shows on the face. Now, I'm kind of a little hard to read because I have a neutral face anyway. So I could be just sitting here and people are like, well, what's wrong with it? It's not that anything is wrong, I'm just sitting thinking, probably just overthinking because I got that issue. So I'm probably overthinking something. So we have to be careful even in that, in our approach to people. We have to be conscious of our size. If we are people that are bigger than other people, we don't just walk up on them like this. Because that can incite fear in them. And even if we're conveying a good message to them, they won't really hear it from a respect level. They'll hear it from a fear level. And can I be real with you? The church is full of people that has received messages from a fear level, body of Christ, I'm saying. And not enough people who receive it from a respect level. Because if I fear you, I'm only going to do it when you're around. If I'm scared of you, Andre, only time I shape up is when you come around. But if I respect you, then the words that you speak to me are going to have power and authority in my life. So when your back is turned, I'm going to do the very same thing I would do as if you were there. So we have to be careful with that body posture. That's something I had to learn with working with the kids that I work with. I always use the example. I think some of y'all were in the class before I talked about, I don't think I talked about communication. Can't remember what I was talking about, but I was talking about, we were doing the training in New Jersey with restraining children. And in the trainings, you have to be the child, and then you have to be the staff member that's about to restrain the child. Well, in this instance, I was being the staff member that had to restrain the child. So we were getting out of, was it kicks? I think a child trying to kick you, and you recovering from a child blocking the kick and then recovering. And like I said, I always like to make everything a competition with me. If I'm in it, no matter what, you could just be having fun with it, but you don't realize I'm competing against you. No matter what, I'm going to be the best, and whatever we do together, I'm going to be the best at it. So we had a staff about 10 of us taking this training. 9 of them didn't even know it was a competition. Only one of us knew it was a competition. That one was me. So we get up there with my partner. My partner kicks at me. I block it the way they teach us to block it, and then I square it up. Now keep in mind, we're training for a student, but I square it up. Now the teacher stops the class, and I get all excited because now I'm thinking, Isaiah, she stopped the class because I did it better than everybody else. She didn't stop it for nobody else. Then she asked the class, what did Cliff do wrong? So I'm thinking, well, nobody's gonna answer. Number one, I felt like I had incited fear in some of them, so I thought they was a little scared to answer. But number two, I was like, what she mean what I do wrong? I didn't do nothing wrong. And one of the young ladies raised her hand, and I'm looking at her like, I don't care too much for you anyway. You know, that's what I was thinking. I really did care for her. I was just in that mode right now, because I was like, oh, she's my enemy now. She's really my enemy now. And she said, well, what he did wrong was, I really don't want to say it, but what he did wrong, they called me Mr. Pettyjohn. For some reason, they didn't call me Cliff. Same age, they just called me Mr. Pettyjohn. Said, well, Mr. Pettyjohn, he, and somebody said he squared up. And I was like, no, I didn't. And I didn't realize it. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes we do things we don't even realize it. I didn't realize I had squared up. So she, so they said, do it again. So now I'm telling my mind, even if you did it the first time, don't do it this time. They kicked me, and what you think I did? Squared up again. She said, pause. And I paused just like this. And she said, Cliff, look at yourself. And I was like, oh, man, I did mess up. But one of the greatest lessons it taught me was, although I may be able to verbally convey a message, had my approach been off with some of my students in the past because of my posture. So I want us to think about some of the people we've invited to church, some of the people, maybe even some of the friendships we've lost that were not necessarily friendships that needed to be lost. Now I'm not saying that's all friendships, because some would needed to be cut, but I want us to think about it from a communication level, even how we communicate with each other, because we have a small group here. And to be honest with you, with a small group, there are some that still barely communicate with each other. But has it been because of our nonverbal presentation that has caused others not to see us as approachable? Or are you the one that are you the one that sits back and can see that everybody else isn't approachable, but not realize that maybe you haven't been that approachable as well? Like I said, this all ties into ministry because we got to become a unit. We have to become one. And if communication is broken down, that's affecting the unit right then and there. And if what actually happens is, come here for a minute. Link your arms together. Yeah, this way. Yeah. Okay. Now this is right here. It can't be broken. This can't be broken. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want you to go that way and you to go that way. No, I didn't tell y'all to disconnect.
Simon Says.
Mm-hmm.
You better learn Simon
Go
Says.
that way and go that way. And see, so y'all let it pull. Okay, so let it pull some, okay? You're messing with my demonstration. So pull both ways. Loosen up a little bit. All right, see now there's no direction where they're going. No direction where they're going. I can move them.
Good.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Come back.
Come back.
Now, join together. All right? Now, I'm going to move y'all, but it's a little harder for me to move y'all, right? Why? Because they linked up together with the same direction. Move that way. Move that way. Now, see how smooth it works? Now, come back, and I want you guys to loosen your arms.
A lot of
Keep them connected. Now, both of you guys go in your separate directions. I can get through, and I can get through to your pastor.
That was bad.
You understand what I'm saying?
That was bad.
When we're not communicating as a unit, it opens the door for me to get the enemy to get through to your pastor. So if you want to be the first line of defense for your pastor, then what you guys have to do is link up and communicate effectively. So that the vision can know, all right, we got the vision. Y'all can have a seat. Then your words will have power when you're witnessing to other people. Let me get to my notes here. I like that. Did you get the whole thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that was straight from the internal. That wasn't from me. Oh, you were so good. But y'all, I'm telling you, that's what a breakdown in a company is. That's what a breakdown in the kingdom is. Have y'all ever watched the movie Troy?
Yeah. Oh yes.
I love Troy. I love Troy.
I love Troy too.
Troy can teach you some spiritual principles that will help you be effective in personal warfare as well as warfare as a unit. It will teach you those things. Some of us need to watch some of those things so we can see how to develop that battle strategy. Because what's going on with us is the reason why we can't win out there is because we won't unite through communication here. So what'll happen is Andre will go out there and he'll tell somebody something about the vision. Cecil will go out there, she'll tell somebody something about the vision. AJ will go out there, he'll tell somebody about something about the vision, and it sounds like 3 different churches. Sounds like 3 different churches. Yesterday we had the senator come to visit the program and to visit the school. And one of the things Apostle Roach said, he was talking to everybody, he said, what we need to do is everybody get together. He told us, I said, come see me, and figure out what we're going to say. So that when we communicate, we sound like we know what we're talking about. My question to us is, when is the last time that we all got together as a church to just communicate what we need to be communicating concerning the vision? As a church now, as a unit now, as a unit. When's the last time we got together to make sure that what we're saying is actually what's going on at the church, instead of doing it off the fly? Because when we do it off the fly, many times we end up making people promises that we can't keep. That's what all of us do. We get excited off of that atmosphere. That's what happened with, who can give $100? I'll give $100. But you haven't planned to give it because you were just excited off of that moment. That's the same thing with communicating to people too. You have to come up with a battle strategy and a plan that's going to, so you can communicate effectively to reach who you need to reach. And as a unit, I don't see that happening. Y'all, I'm not being smart, but if it's not about more important than Sabbath school, it shouldn't be any other talking. Should not be any other talking going on. We're talking about the vision and how we can effectively communicate the vision, and we're not doing that yet, so there should be nothing going on besides Sabbath school. But we need to get together as a unit. As a unit. And this does not even need to be led by the pastor. This is not nothing Lady Nika has to do, Pastor Lane has to do, Evangelist Martise has to do, Apostle Roach has to do. We should be getting together to figure out what is our battle strategy to get some souls. What is our battle strategy to help with the offering? Because the reality is, if we get souls, come on, let's think about it. We get souls, what does that do already? Brings up the offering. Takes the weight off of our leaders, takes the weight off of everybody else. And now the ministry can be more effective because we no longer have to meet about finances. Now we can meet about ministry stuff. But it comes in people getting together and saying, I'm going to give up some of my time. If I can't be there physically, then we can call each other. But honestly, we got to get past that too. Because we can physically go everywhere else. We can physically make plans for everything else. Now we need to make some physical plans for the vision. Meet at somebody's house. Somebody bring drinks. You don't have to do a big meal. Everybody's on a budget because you know you bring a big meal, that's money you could also be sowing. Everybody bring one thing, we meet together and let's talk vision. Let's not play, let's not laugh, joke, have a bunch of folly. Let's talk about what can we do to convey this vision to the community. It's all about communication. All about communication. Anybody disagree with anything I'm saying? If you disagree, now's the time to talk about it. If I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong. And we can talk. We can meet and sit down and talk, because right now the vision is crying. Am I wrong, overseer? Am I off? Am I out of order?
Okay.
Why was I trying to unscrew the microphone?
Yeah.
The vision is crying. And can I be honest with you? Not many are answering the cry. Not many even hear the cry. And that's sad. That's sad. New rules. New rules. New rules.